10
All
seconds.
right.
10. And we're at bombs.
You bringing us back in, Greg?
All right. And welcome back to Come and Brew It Radio. Let's see what has happened in the break. We drank more beers. We did a lot of smack talk.
A couple lines, you know.
Introspection.
Couple lines.
No, we didn't.
Talked about a lot of old bands. Really old bands. And then we decided that we're going to hold off of the rest of Nigel's questions and go ahead and move on to some Hop-o-Rama on this round. Just because Nigel's questions, we might be here for the next 4 hours if we keep answering them.
I got lots of questions.
He does.
It might end up
Lots.
like the quad episode. If we,
Yeah, I know.
That was the last hangover I got, actually. It's a quad episode.
yeah, and it's pretty bad because I had somebody comment and they said, you might need a bouncer for your podcast.
They're not
I
running.
thought you were the bouncer.
Well, I thought he was just going to pass out, and he just kept going, waking up and going, "Rah!" But, you know.
Was that
whatever.
Pete?
Yeah.
Pete, we love you, man.
Randomness.
Yeah, he was in bad shape that night.
So, like, the Hop-o-Rama, we've done these before. If you've been listening, we have, this is number 4 of these. We try to go through some American, some British, and some noble hops. Just kind of talk about them. Just kind of give some general ideas about what the hop is. Honestly, there's some of these that not all of us have used, so don't expect actual perfection on descriptions, but it's one of those things where, you know, a lot of times you go into a shop and you're looking in a hop bin and there's a shit ton of hops there and you're thinking, you know, I want to make some stuff, I want to try some things, what do I want to mess with here? And that's really the point behind describing what some of these hops are and what they're supposed to be, you know, uses and whatnot. To start with the American, I've got some choices here that are fairly common, like this one, Willamette. This is one that you will find in a lot of beers. We only have a few actual references, like
I think the only one
Fat
we
Tire.
use. Yeah, which one? Which beer did we use this in? I think the
we
only
use
one
this in the Corpus.
Yeah, the Corpus.
right.
The Corpus
Yeah, that's
Coconut
the only
Ale
one.
is what we use it in.
I've used
2
it.
ounces, I
I
think.
used to use this in the Cool Texas as well, and it worked really well. But we changed it to more of a. I think that particular style lends itself better to. We wanted it to kind of be kind of a gateway beer for Bud Miller Coors drinkers.
Right.
So we changed it from the Willamette to the to a noble hop.
And I think-
so.
Like what you're saying about that beer is like what is described here actually fits with what that style is. And that change makes for a better beer for those drinkers, you know, because like a lot of times you'll find that something that's described in flavor aroma is floral, fruity, incense, or elderberry that kind of has more of that English tone, honestly,
Yeah.
is something that goes with that kind of beer, that style. So,
And it really goes, and we put it in the Corpus Coconut, which is kind of a riff off of the actual Cool Texas, so or the Cool Texas Cream Ale. So it does go well with that. It's just different, you know. It's spicy versus fruity and a little bit of dirt. I hate to really compare Willamette to Fuggle because I think it's way different. I mean, there's some similarities, but to me, like a UK Fuggle, I guess the best way I can say, and it's one of the strongest, just really
Right.
imparts a lot of flavor, probably more than any hop to me. It is just dirt. I mean, just dirt.
Eric has a question.
Dirt. Yeah.
Derp. No, I use Willamette in my Texas Blonde, and I absolutely love it. It comes across, sometimes I'm like, it's just a clean blonde. Other times I'm like, oh, this is almost like a farmhouse.
Right, because of the character that throws it out.
Yeah.
I mean, Willamette, okay, let's read the description here. Released in 76, USDA breeding program. It's a triploid seedling of English Fuggle, which definitely makes that variation there. It was the, for years, most widely grown aroma variety in the U.S. It's named after Oregon's Willamette River. which runs through the heart of the state's hop growing region. It tends to impart a peppery and herbaceous flavor or spice with fruity and floral notes, making the adaptable hops usable in a wide variety of beer styles, especially various ales, porters, and stouts. About 4.5 to 6.5% alpha acid. Flavor aroma is floral, fruity, incense, or elderberry. Elderberry. There you go. That right off the facts, like you're getting into that range that's completely English, right?
The only time I've ever heard elderberry, I think it was the Holy Grail.
Yes.
Elderberry.
Yes.
Elderberry.
Your
Yeah.
mother is a hamster and your father smells of elderberries. Or maybe the other way
Yeah,
around.
no, I think you
That
nailed
was
it.
such a perfect sound clip right there.
Yeah. Please save that. But no, it is as close to an English hop as you're going to get from an American hop.
Exactly.
I've brewed now for 2.5 years. And I've been pretty prolific. I've brewed a lot of beer. I think I've used American hops twice. And both times it was Willamette.
You racist bastard.
I concur.
Just simply because
That's
You're a
what you like.
racist bastard.
Honestly, I think it's racial biases may be well founded in this case.
I hate drinking from a perfume bottle, which is what I get with American hops.
I get that.
So, and my dad will back me up 100% with some of the English beers that are now being brewed with American hops over there. It's like drinking from a perfume bottle. But Willamette is as close to an English hop as you're going to get. It's got the earthy tones. It's not as dank and dirty as Fuggles by any means.
No, I don't think so either.
But it's
Or
got
skunkweed.
nor that either. But I wouldn't know.
Well, it's been a few years, but you know.
No. You misunderstand, sir. Nigel is a strictly hydro guy.
Hey, you got to take what you can get. Right?
No ditchweed. for
Wait,
this
are we
man.
talking hydroponics or hydrocodone? I'm confused.
Okay, so I should.
Anyway, getting back to the
I should
the
get myself
hops,
for a
sir.
random drug test next month at work. Then, huh?
Right.
Random.
As
Random,
long as
yeah.
they don't test for homebrew, I'm good.
No, we're good on that. We're good on that respect.
Now, would you say that Willamette actually comes closer to Tettnanger
No.
or Styrian?
Honestly,
closer to
it's
Styrian.
it's probably between Styrian and Fuggle. You know,
Okay.
that's the substitutes that are listed in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
I was going to
those
say
three,
that's three really weird, different types of hops. to
Right.
be-
Yeah,
to
but
be
they're
classed.
all kind of. Well, the Styrian Golding is a Fuggle.
right.
Yeah,
but it's got
right.
the spice to it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Fuggle doesn't.
Yeah, but I guess ultimately what I get from Fuggle is just dirt.
Right.
I mean, it is the dirtiest
Right.
of the dirty hops.
Right.
I mean,
but
it's so
Styrian-
dirty it does three ways.
Styrian's between Fuggles
But
and
I'm just-
Sarts,
That's
right?
not dirty.
that's
sir.
why you should use it.
It's like a Jared.
Use it like you need to.
With his
use
SOP.
it and destroy it. Yeah.
I mean, really, it can truly be overwhelming if you use too much of it to make
Right.
Fuggles. But I've never really gotten that real earthy, dirty tone from Willamette.
Right. But Styrian is between a Fuggle and a Sars. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, and I think that the Tet actually sort of fits into that general
Right.
range too because of that spiciness. And there you have the three that sort of, I don't know, Sots is very much more, I think, the spicy character than
Right.
the Tet would be. So, you know, if you want to pull the toned down version of that with like you have the Styrian where it's got the spicy and the dirty. The Fuggle, which is definitely just straight up dirty, the way you like it.
God,
And
I'm
then,
getting turned
you know-
on all of a sudden talking about
I'm
hops.
not sure if I like it straight up dirty, just maybe a little bit round the corner dirty.
This around the corner,
No,
dirty.
I like the librarian look, but dirty in the sheets. You know,
got some
lady in the
glasses
streets,
on,
dirty
yeah.
in the sheets. Yeah, I'm down with it.
It's all about the Dewey Decimal System. I got it. Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good description, actually. If you want to make that beer with a little bit of librarian in there, just to give you that spicy thrill,
Nigel's
know.
choking.
a little dirty. It's a great hop for that. And like, okay, they say examples of use. New Belgium's Fat Tire is one that's supposed to use this. Terrapin Muhu and the Brooklyn Rye PA are some examples of this style that supposedly uses. I don't know if they still do, but you know, this is some examples that have used it. So
I like this in blondes. I really do.
Librarians.
Yeah, because I passed my blonde recipe off on you, and I'm like, "What do you think?" And you're like, "Pretty solid. Gotta get to work. Leave me alone."
So I guess going back to one of the questions from earlier about changing beer, if you've used a beer, if you brewed a beer with Willamette in it and you want it a little bit more earthy, you go with Fogel. If you want it a bit more
Right.
spicy, you go with Styrian.
Right.
You know.
And if you're thinking about it, I mean, starting off with 4.5%, 6.5%, that's a blend at the end every time.
Well, it's
to
also-
really get what you want out of that, because you're not going to get that from. You're not going to add this as a bittering hop. It's going to be all aroma characters. So.
Well,
You know.
yeah, for my Texas Blonde,
Aroma
I do
and flavor.
0.8 for bittering at 60 minutes, and at 15 minutes, I do 2.5. But it's one of those things. Do a smash.
Right.
You know, do a single malt, do a single hop, play with it, get to learn the different characteristics of it.
All right, Stubby, I foresee a beer coming up, a kit coming up with Willamette in it called the Texan Librarian.
Yeah.
Ooh. Dirty librarian.
Librarian.
Yeah,
The dirty Australian
we
librarian.
have a blonde name that Mikey calls his blonde, but I don't remember all of it. It's something.
Well,
something with big
it's
tits and
out of
tastes like ice
True
cream or
Romance.
something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
6 foot blonde with an ass that tastes like vanilla bean ice cream.
I think it's something like that.
Yeah, no, that's it. Quentin Tarantino film. Great
Yeah.
movie.
I think this though you'll find this hop used quite a bit in a lot of different beers generally, and 'cause, I mean it's a popular hop. If I've seen a lot of recipe books that you're looking through and you see this name show up, so it's one that's out there. It's worth that shot. You know, just remember that it is throwing in those characteristics of a lot of the beers that like an English hop would. I mean,
Did you say wood?
would.
I don't know, wood.
Just remember the floral, fruity, and incense and elderberry and a little bit of spicy.
I mean,
so.
but going back, it's great for aroma. It's not a bittering hop.
Right, exactly, and that's the key point to any time when you're trying to do something like I don't see this in like an American pale ale unless you're adding some extra character to it. You know.
Yeah, I even like an IPA or something like that, I probably wouldn't think this would be a good hop for.
No, unless you're doing some weird version of something. You might try this in an English IPA though. You know,
what's
an
weird
English
about,
beer.
What's weird about an English IPA?
I didn't say that. I just said a
Is there
weird version of
such
an
a
American IPA. Our next
There's
hop,
nothing
though,
weird. It's just queer.
that
Oh, that means Australian.
Is that good or bad?
Depends on if it's Jared or
So,
Wesley.
Well, there is that.
there is that.
Next up, we have
Meanwhile,
Amarillo.
our mouths are next to big black socks.
Our next American hop, though, is definitely one that is, I think, might be up there with Cascade as one of the most commonly used hops, especially in the last decade, as far as beers that you're going to find on the shelf, because there was a shortage of this because so many pro brewers were using this in their
Oh,
beers.
yeah.
It's Amarillo.
I really
let's see.
like this one.
Discovered, introduced in Washington State, Gamache Farms, I guess. It was an experimental aroma variety that has recently become one of the top 10 varieties utilized by craft beer industry. It featured relatively high alpha acids along with extremely high levels of myrcene for citrus and grapefruit flavors. As a result, it's an excellent dual-purpose variety. Amarillo demonstrates good resistance to, never mind about mildew and whatnot, we don't care. Amarillo provides a lively grapefruit flavor with a medium-high bitterness. Its alpha acid 7 to 11%, flavor aroma of grapefruit, orange, lemon, melon, and I think these stand out these days.
Right.
Has become the thing is apricot and peach has been something that, like with yeast, the right yeast selection, a lot of people are really pushing the apricot and peach. Main styles, pale ales, IPAs, and porters. Substitutes are Cascade and Centennial, but they're not the same thing. You only get the citrus out of those, whereas you do not get the apricot and peach as much. An example of usage would be most American IPAs for a long time are really using the hell out of some Amarillo.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But they
Well-
weren't pushing the apricot and peach like they are now.
Well, it's funny because if you guys have ever made, we have 2 recipes here at the store that are IPAs, and They're older style IPAs, I would say, is the Amarillo IPA and the Stubby's IPA. And I don't get what you're pointing at.
Look behind you on the wall, the grapefruit IPA.
Oh, yeah,
Do
the
you use
grapefruit
it?
IPA, yeah. But anyway,
They can't see that.
But the Amarillo IPA and the Stubby's IPA, which are both of my recipes, is they actually were kind of evolved from Amarillo. And the original Stubby's IPA is actually is the actual Stubby's IPA, the Amarillo is. And we actually had to go with Centennial because there was such a shortage on Amarillo. At one time we were paying almost, it was just not available, and the stuff that you could find was $5 an ounce, you know. So we substituted out the Centennial for Amarillo, and we actually thought, wow, man, you know what, this is actually pretty damn good. So we left it as a kit, but Amarillo is definitely one of my favorite hops. Absolutely love it. I don't know if, and here's the thing, I don't know if I would actually go into that whole apricot and peach thing. I don't really get that much from it. But I would say though that it pairs extremely well with Cascade and Centennial.
Yes.
And I would say that those are probably three of my, if I'm going to do an American IPA, those are three of my favorite hops right there.
Dude, I bring up the apricot and peach because of what's happening right now with Northeast IPAs. That is all about the yeast and like the biotransformation and whatnot. That's where that's coming from. They really love this hop. You know, for that.
Okay, so as a fledgling home brewer, how did you come up? Well, whatever. But I mean, how did you come up with? Oh, I want to use Amarillo. I mean, was it personal experience? Did you do a smash?
You know,
like
actually,
earlier?
that's a good point because I think that's something that we can kind of go over because we were talking about cloning recipes, and as a matter of fact, the reason I got introduced to Amarillo was because I liked Sierra Nevada's Torpedo. Okay. So I did some research and started looking at, what was in Torpedo, and I believe don't get me lying. I'm pretty sure that was one of the hops that is in that particular beer.
For someone that doesn't like IPAs.
Yeah, well, I used to be a hop head for a while. I mean, I've gone through phases where like tonight I had to have some hops. I was
He
just
went
like,
through his
man, it was
meth phase.
just. Yeah,
That's why Jared was at the meeting.
but no, I mean the funny thing was I really liked that the Torpedo, and I looked up recipes and I kind of made my own thing out of that. It wasn't even close to Torpedo, but I liked it and it worked well, and I kept it, and so that's how that's the way a lot of my recipes started out. I might go in and look at pale ale, and that's the thing is if you guys get in there and there's something that makes a pale ale a pale ale. There's not a whole lot of damn differences. You might use a little bit different hops, but if you're still going to be within that particular category, it's not rocket science. It's got to meet some sort of guideline in order to make it be a pale ale. If it's
it's
and
not
really,
rocket scientists. It's not rocket science to someone that owns a homebrew supply store and has a degree. But I mean, seriously, for us, it's like, where do we go?
I'm still not sure what the actual difference between a pale ale and a IPA is.
Well,
really.
and that's something that has been blurred dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years.
Alcohol and overall.
Yeah,
character.
well, and Nigel could probably be a good test to this because, there's a big difference. I mean, and especially English beers, pale ale is nothing like a English pale ale, but they kind of go along the same lines. It's just, they're pretty similar in the fact that, and if you get into the style guidelines, you'll have ordinary bitter, premium bitter, ESB, English IPA. Well, they're all pretty damn similar. They all just have different IBUs and different alcohol content, And then, you know, when you get to the American Pale Ale, it's kind of the same thing, but we don't really have. We're starting to have our session IPAs, which is kind of like almost like ordinary or premium or best bitter, right?
But
Yeah.
really dank.
Yeah, it is, and you're right. You got your English bitters and your American Pale Ale are going to be very similar. They're just going to have obviously going to have different ingredients,
yeast,
different yeast, and different hops,
and different crystal malt.
But they're essentially
Completely different.
An equivalent. They're essentially an equivalent
American
type beer.
They're the same beer. It's just different
Right.
ingredients.
Right.
But
I don't know how to. That
It's just
sounds
like
different.
it's different. So completely
See,
different.
one's
Right.
red and one doesn't have any shoes.
Well, let's just say, for example, let's just say American Pale Ale. Let's say 10 pounds of 2-row, 4 ounces of Crystal 60,
Right.
or something like that. You know, an English Pale Ale.
that's an English bitter.
It's an English
You
bitter.
just got to throw English hops and English yeast on it.
Right.
So, but you take an English IPA and an American IPA, and you're black and white. Totally
Yeah.
different beers.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, but the grain bills are probably pretty similar.
Right. They are. The grain bills are similar. The hop profile is completely different.
Yeah, well.
Okay,
hop
so
profile.
But
the
it's the
hop
hop-
profile, what about the
but it's the hop-
carbonation profile?
it's the
Is
hop-
that different?
It's the hop quantity as well. It's not the hop profile.
but,
it's
I mean-
it's the hop quantity.
Right.
But,
right.
I mean, looking at the brew system or the tap system you want to get, I mean, is the carbonation profile much different as well?
Not really.
No?
I don't think so. It's going to be more highly carbonated over here than it would be in England, but that's primarily because of the way we serve the beer in England anyway, through a beer engine and rather than CO2. But it's the hop profile and the clean yeast that kind of lets the hop shine
yes.
more over here.
Whereas the
rather than the
English has more fruity.
Right, more esters.
It lays something on top of it.
Right, and it more accentuates the malt over there rather than the hops. So the pale ale is very similar. The IPA is, to my experience.
Well, and that's something that you know I know personally. There's a few places that. Oh, and you missed out, just FYI, at Hop Fusion. They're gone. It's gone.
the IPA.
Wait, what?
Damn it!
English IPA they had there was phenomenal, but I think that's
Matt
a-
Macy
Shouldn't have
brew it
said anything
again.
about it.
Yeah, the problem I think is that a lot of times, and I think we're kind of getting off track here, but one of the
Go
differences,
figure.
though, I mean,
That never happens.
English IPAs don't sell well for breweries, and the reason being is because people associate here IPA with this hot bomb, this extremely bitter, citrusy, sea hop, Cascade, Citra, whatever, dank aroma. And when they get this beer and it's not bitter as hell and it's well balanced and you get some malt character, people will go, "Oh, this sucks. This is an IPA."
Yeah, what the hell is
But
this?
they don't understand that that's what an English IPA is supposed to taste like.
Right.
So
Right. With a lot more bitterness than a standard pale would have. And even still, across the board, the pale ales can have some crazy bitterness without that hop character at the end point with the aroma and whatnot that Americans love, So,
And I mean, my palate is limited when it comes to English beer, but I love a Landlord, a Fuller's ESB, London Pride, Double Diamond. I mean, English IPA, there's
It
such
stands
a
out
thing?
with
Are
the-
you kidding me?
oh, you'd love it, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're working on the right lines. We'll get you educated.
well, while we're
Slowly.
talking about
Cheerio.
these, we should move into the English versions. And we have two here tonight, Phoenix and Admiral. Phoenix was released in 96. It's a seedling of Yeoman, which I'm not really sure why we're saying that.
Yeoman. That's a naval
Yeoman,
term.
sorry.
Yeah.
It's
okay, it's a
produced
naval term.
excellent results in both bittering and flavor applications. It's a variety that can add some gusto to beers needing a hop kick. It's compared to Challenger hops, which has some spice in it. The aroma from Phoenix is tempered with an English style about it. The let's see, blah blah, which
Pharmacy.
itself is no, yeah, I know. Aromas such as magnolia flavors, citrusy, green, and woody. These notes are more subdued after blending with the moderate composition of other essential oils. Alpha acids 8 to 12%. Flavor aroma, spicy, floral, chocolate, magnolia flowers, citrusy, green, and woody. Main styles are English ales, including porters, stouts, ESBs, and bitters. Substitutes are UK Challenger and North Down. And an example of usage around here is the Real Ale Phoenix Double Extra Special Bitter and our own.
Yeah, Phoenix ESB.
There you go.
But, here's the thing is to me, Phoenix is not a traditional English hop.
Amen.
It's
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's kind of its own animal. And here's the thing. And the reason I did this is we actually made that Phoenix ESB kit just to feature the Phoenix hop because it's based off our Mockingbird ESB that's won multiple awards, and it's just a straight up just
Champion
normal, just I guess traditional English ESB. Yeah. And then we said, you know what, let's try it with Phoenix and just do 100%, almost like a smash, but with the grain bill from the and it's really completely different beer when you do that. To me, it's almost borderline. It's not as citrusy or grapefruity, but it's a lot more aggressive hop, I guess I would say, than a Fuggle or a Goldie. And that's
8
been
to
my
12.
experience.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot of hops to fill
it's in your face. It's not. I don't get that dirty flavor. I mean, it's pretty just a assertive bitterness that I get from it. I think
it's more of a hop for porters and stouts rather than bitters and pale ales.
Right. That's probably.
I think it's more appropriate in that style of beer. Right.
It would be covered over by the malt character.
Right.
Yeah. You're just using it for bittering or something like that. But,
right.
I think it's kind of a good mix-up, though, if you kind of like English styles and you like kind of the American assertive beers. I think that's something you would enjoy. So check that out, the Phoenix ESB kit. So
yeah, I think last time I had it was pretty good beer.
It's good. It's just not your traditional.
They're definitely
ESB.
different. Yeah.
It's different to the Willamette, obviously, but I mean, it wouldn't be that far off. I don't think, would it?
Oh.
I think that like the woody
Yeah.
citrus
Right,
kind of
yeah,
character
maybe- yeah,
is
maybe
really
so.
what throws that up. Like when they say magnolia flowers, I mean that's a whole nother animal.
Well,
but
I'm from
I
South
found a whole lot
Louisiana.
of chocolate flavor from other sources that say that there's something coming from it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of chocolate too.
Well,
so.
I'm from South Louisiana. I'll give you some magnolia flavors.
Have you been chewing them
There's
recently? You're like, I love chewing on a magnolia flower.
There's an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, and I recently watched Black Snake Moan, so I'll give you some chocolate flavors too.
Oh God. Moving on.
Just glad that's directed to you and not me.
And we're going to move on to Admiral. Admiral here, this is one that is kind of quick to pass by, I think, because if there's any, by definition of what this hop is, if you read about it, it's mostly used brewing at home at this point, and it's mostly a bittering hop. It imparts a citrusy bitter hop flavor to beer. It lends itself well to many English styles pale ales, but it's at 13 to 16% alpha acid. It's got no real flavor or aroma character, and main styles are pale and bitter beers with bittering hop. Substitutes would be Challenger and North Down, maybe, and then examples of usage would be something like the Three Floyds Blackheart English IPA and the Stone Imperial IPA. This one to me stands out as like an English Magnum.
Yeah.
There's not much going on there. It's got a lot of bitter. You want to throw it in as a bittering hop. Don't F around with this unless that's what it is.
You're
You're not going to get much out
man. Give it a chance.
All right, so I have a question here from Andrew, which I thought was a pretty good our question. He says, will the recent rise of any IPAs, New England IPAs, change the collective understanding of hop character? So, go.
Andrew, that's deep.
I think it could.
it could.
To me,
I've
it's
definitely
just
noticed in the last couple of years that a lot of the IPAs have come away from being just straight bitter hops and a lot more aroma and flavor hops. And I think that's changing how people are viewing what an IPA can be.
Well, yeah, and I've never been a hop head. I've never liked IPAs. And a friend of mine from actually the owner of High Sign Brewing down in Austin, brought me a Plenty Younger, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was 5 days old.
It's from Russian River. It's always going to be good. So
But it was amazing. And then Stubby, you know, working at the store with him, interacting. He's like, I hate IPAs. And he's like, oh my God, this one's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Try this. And I'm like,
Oh, trust me, yeah, I know. And that's why, like, his original kit is the way it is. Because that's, I mean, IPA has transitioned so much over time. And
yeah, it's gone
one
from
of those
like
things.
50 IBU to like 3 million IBU.
Right. And, like, there are hops, like the ones that are really geared towards bittering without flavor, like Magnum or the Admiral that we threw in. You know, if you really want to push bitterness, then use something like that. Whereas,
Yeah,
like, the
it's
Amarillo has a whole lot of character to it, but it totally changes when you add in something like London 3 and you add it in fermentation before it's finished and get that apricot peach thing over something else.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
yeast character can
no.
push certain things out of hops now that didn't happen before.
And we're, you know, gratuitous plug. But everyone that comes comes into the store and they want to do an IPA, it's Mosaic, Simcoe, Citra. And
Right.
It's like, look, Denali, pineapple. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Let's try it. You know, let's get a little crazy.
The experimental stuff right now is amazing, and I think that all of those are going to keep changing, especially with what they can be done with different yeast varieties. The yeast varieties make a huge difference now, whereas before we only really focused on something like the Cal-Ls, you know, the WLP001 type of thing, or the San Diego Super, something that was really dry and really just like no flavor character came out of it, and they wanted all the hops to shine through. Now you add yeast in, and that totally changes the perspective on what the hops are doing, because it's changing the whole flavor of what the hops are getting out every time. It's
Right.
some of the same character plus these other notes that really change it and make it
Well,
a
that's
whole
getting back
thicker,
to
you know,
the
flavor
Nigel
character.
of this podcast is play with the hops, play with the yeast, change it up a little bit. Don't be afraid to.
Just don't play with yourself while you're playing with the hops.
Yeah, that's not good.
Hell
That's a
yeah,
Nigel.
that's why I got
No, wait.
into this
No,
shit.
wait,
No
hold
one
on.
can see me in my
That's
backyard.
totally a Nigel thing, though. That's really
No,
what,
no, no.
that's-
I'm admitting this
Well,
on
if nobody
air.
else is
I
going to
think that
play
might
with
be an
you,
Adam thing too, because that's how you get the really interesting funks.
When I brewed with him, I'm like, please stop that. Seriously, just nobody wants to see that right now. And
Hey,
but
we're in a
later.
crowd of people right now.
You know,
stop
it
doing
was the dipping point that drew the line, right?
Nigel, that's not a hydrometer.
Don't stir it with that. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah. All right. But I would say this, that I think this is the point that we're trying to get at, is that, you know, really, I think a lot of times people get hung up on these, as the guys from Turning Point would say, cool guy hops, and they really kind of don't look at other options, and
Right.
there's so many different ones available. And, you know, I had the choice this year to actually give you guys hops for the Iron Mash that we do every year. What was it, the 20-something annual? I know a lot of people are
30,
doing these
wasn't it?
now.
20, no, I don't
And,
know.
as far as we know,
Thousand.
we know we're the first ones to do this, but I think it was 24 years or 25 years we've been doing the Iron Mash. But anyway, it's kind of like the Iron Chef kind of thing, where we you go out and you have 20 some odd brew teams. I think, well, we had 30 at one time, but I think it's down to like 24.
17 this year.
17 this year, yeah. But anyway, we just kind of throw out we give you ingredients, and we say, hey, make a beer. You got to declare it, and then everybody brews up whatever they brew, and then we judge it later.
Wasn't
But,
it a
it's a fun party.
Crystal and a hop this year?
So no, I don't remember. It was mainly like sugars. I think was a lot of adjuncts.
Yeah.
The special ingredients were sugars. We had some off the wall hops. But
Yeah, and
We
I
do
got
have
to-
one of those in this list.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
that's right.
Yeah,
but
there was
that
dank
was
weed, there was crystal meth, and I think
cocaine.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah,
Make
they
a
make
beer.
a hell of a beer, dude.
My
The
response to
police did
Andrew's,
not show up that day, luckily.
my response to
It was
Andrew's
at
original
RAR. They were
question
paid off.
would be that the New England IPA, and I'm going to call it a fad just because it's the
It's
best
a
word, it's the best
fad.
word that comes to mind. It's like any trend, any fashion or anything like that. The good stuff's going to stick. the bad stuff's going to go away, and I don't think they've changed.
The style will define itself.
Yeah, I don't think they've changed brewing as such. They might add a dimension. They might add a character that hadn't previously been
like biotransformation. I think that will stick.
I think so.
On a whole, will the
beer?
same concept always last? Who knows?
No, I
will
think
it be a niche? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will.
Niche.
That too.
Transgender beer.
It's like the American IPA, the traditional American IPA with trying to impart as many IBUs as you can. That fad peaked. It's slowly gone away, and now they've gone to a New England IPA, and I think that will peak, and the best cases will stay. The worst cases will fade away, and they'll come up with something else.
Well, it's like I read today in one thing that said about like black IPAs.
They're gone.
You don't really, you
more.
don't see them anymore.
No.
But yet, you know what? I still really like a good one,
Black
and I will
Mojo
take
IPA
one
is
and I'll
still
brew
available.
one just to have it.
You can make a really bad one.
Yes,
I mean,
and a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And a lot of people make really bad Northeast IPAs.
Yeah.
But the concept behind it, again, is like how do you mix together those special characters that make it work right, like the dark malts and the hops, or how do you make something work out of hops that people have been doing differently, but like it's just an explosion of the fruity flavors and whatnot, that's not bitter, but it's incredibly intense and it's very enjoyable,
Well, and I think the black IPA, the balance was between the roast character and the hops. They don't go that well together, and you got to be able to balance that correctly.
Yes, it's a work of art.
It is in order to make it properly. But the point I was trying to make earlier was that when you actually when I chose those hops, is I kind of want people when I help with that iron mash, I always try to. They go, oh, what ingredients are you going to donate this year? And I always try to go, I want to push the boundaries, and I want you guys to try something that you would never try. I would never go in and go, oh, here's Simcoe, here's Cascade, here's Centennial. I don't want you to do that, because I want to put you outside your comfort zone. I want you to try something new, because I think that this is a way that you can kind of you can be inventive, and you might come across something that's great, So,
and me and Greg sat there and thought, what an ass.
We did. Let's cover the noble hops here real quick, because one of these were one of our iron mash hops, and like right now I chose Mandarina, Bavaria, and Smaragd. I don't know actually. Smaragd, whatever it is. It used to be Emerald. We'll start with that one.
Yeah, why didn't they leave it Emerald? That's a lot easier to say.
I don't understand. It's like, does this have something to do
It's
with
Viking? It's bold.
I feel like, it's
the
either
hop
that
with a
or
funny name.
Lord of the Rings. It's like there's smog involved with this. I don't really understand, but it's one of those things where like that was one of our hops, and we're like, how the hell are we going to use this?
How do you even say that?
Smaragd.
And this is a German hop,
Yeah, formerly known as Emerald.
Smaragd.
It's a fine aroma variety
gotta
with
say
high
it.
bitter value. It shows high yields, whatever production. Introduction comes around the same time as the debut of Opal and Sapphire, which is
those
around
are both great hops.
Yes,
So far.
around the turn of the century, all are considered noble-like hops due to their low cohumulon contributions. It's alpha acid of 4 to 6%, floral, spicy, and mild fruity. Main styles: Pilsners, German Ales, German Lagers, Belgian styles, Weissbier, and Amber Ale. Substitutes are Hallertauer Mittelfru. An example of usage would be Bell's Hop Solution, apparently. We found that hop and we looked it up and thought, what the hell
WT.
did we do to this?
Yeah.
And honestly, that was, Nigel just looked at me like, what? What did you just call that?
I thought you sneezed.
Yeah, I would try it in a Kolsch.
But I will
why
tell you
not?
this. We put it in a porter and as a finishing hop, and it really is pretty damn
Yeah,
tasty.
I thought it
And
worked out pretty well.
It tastes really good. This is a porter with molasses. It tastes really good. I don't, all of those characters I think fit with a darker ale versus what we're seeing here as the styles with lagers and whatnot. But I think they would fit in those if you have the right character to it.
And I don't know, when you guys were looking up any of this, did you ever hear that was comparative to an Amarillo hop?
No, I didn't see it.
Because I've been told that. So there you go.
You're suggesting we do homework.
If we'd have walked in the store and said, "Okay, we're going to brew this beer, and this is what we want to, this is how we want to finish it," I don't think
anybody would have suggested that. Yeah.
Any times out of 100 would we have picked this hop.
But after this show, I'm going to suggest.
As it is, the beer turned out, I think, pretty damn great.
It does. I think it's good.
Well,
I mean,
and that's
close to
the
a Hallertau, yeah.
But that's the whole reason that I throw these out there, because I think many people are just like, hey, this is the hop we're going to use. This is, or people just follow recipes. They're not into experimentation, So that's what I like to kind of do. And the other hop that I gave you guys, what I think is an incredible, weird hop, was Taurus.
We used it too.
But the Taurus is we didn't really put that on here tonight, but Taurus is banana and chocolate. I mean, it's so weird. Right. And I did a German a Munich Dunkel with that, and man, it was seriously chocolatey. But it did kind of add like a fruitiness to it, and people perceive that as an ester, which it was the hop.
Did you choose the two because they were both chocolate? Because I found chocolate more than once for Smaragd.
Yeah, well, we kind of did that way because I figured that most people were going to probably be doing darker beers because of the choices from all of the different candy sugars, or there was a lot of stuff to do, stouts and stuff of that nature. So,
well, that makes sense then. That's something that we looked at that and thought,
what the hell?
When I saw chocolate, okay, and I saw spicy, I thought, well, that does definitely lean in that direction, Mm-hmm. And that's something that those are the flavor indicators that totally set that style recipe off, and from there on we were we started with a brown and we ended up on a porter.
Yeah.
Like a big brown, and we went what do we want to do with this? These are the things that we want to do.
Well, and here's kind of what I was thinking that stuff like that would be a great usage for, would be, okay, hey, I want to do a chocolate porter. Well, let's use some hop that actually maybe accentuate the chocolate flavor.
With that,
I want
the chocolate.
No,
we had pale chocolate. Was it pale chocolate we had, or regular chocolate?
I don't remember.
I want chocolate-covered banana beer. Ooh. Ooh.
So little last one.
That could be a bad fermentation right there.
No, that sounds
awesome.
Every time I've had a banana beer, I'm like, that's a bad fermentation, right?
Right.
No, it's supposed to taste like that.
All right,
Badly good, I guess.
Our final hop tonight is the Mandarina Bavaria.
Yes.
Here's
a popular one.
Yes. Mandarina Bavaria is a fairly new hop grown in Hull, Germany. There's a lot of experimental hops coming out of Hull, just FYI. But anyway, it's only been available to brewers since 2012. Its lineage is the Cascade hop and is German's answer to the fruit-forward New World hops like Citra and Galaxy. Mandarina imparts fantastic, what is that? Satsuma Mandarin orange flavor. Used more as a finishing hop than a bittering hop. There you go.
7 to 10%. Mandarin orange, fruity and citrus, distinct tangerine and citrus flavors. And substitute's supposed to be Cascade, but man, this thing blows that out of the water.
It's way different.
Yeah.
Way different.
Now here's our example of usage. Raw Pride of Texas. And I remember when this hop showed up, and I was there with Austin when they were first coming up with Pride of Texas, and he's like, you got to check this out. Smell this. I was like, wow, what is that? And he's like, this is a new thing, and it had a number at that point.
Yeah.
And HB whatever type of,
Yeah.
And that, since then, I've heard that this hop has shown up in so much stuff since that time, because so many breweries got a hold of it, and it was just one of those hops that just it's nailing it down,
It was a fat hop, right? I mean,
I don't know if it's a fat hop,
but it's
new enough that
it's very expensive.
It's going to stick.
Right.
So a couple of years ago, when I placed at Labor Love, I used Citra, and I used this to finish up with.
Right.
For my peach pale ale, and it works beautifully.
It's a fantastic hop, actually.
Yeah,
I think it
and
is.
I think the reason, I think this is a perfect example. I think the name fits it well, because That's what I get from it. You know, the little bitter mandarin oranges.
Right.
That's what it tastes like.
I think it's subtle though,
Yeah.
like a German subtleness to it
Right.
versus an American overbearing.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
opposite
yeah.
of me.
Right.
It's very subtle. Yeah, it's not like all up in your face and
But
get
it-
that out of my face.
But it fits more of a American pale, American blonde, rather than a German style beer, right?
It's
Well,
got
actually,
a
it
beautiful
fits a
citrus
lot of
flavor.
styles, I think.
Yeah,
It's a multi-tool.
Okay.
You
You
know?
could use it for blondes or,
Yeah.
or Belgian beers, or I mean, I think you could use this beer for American pale ales.
I think this fits anything that needs that serious mandarin orange citrusy kind
You
of
know,
character.
and
Okay.
I'm not sure that particular one could. Here's the thing: I'm not sure that it stands on its own well. I think it has to have other help.
You're correct.
I think
Yeah.
it has to
It's-
have.
kind of like me after this show.
But when it comes to like German beers, Kolsch, Pils, stuff like that, wouldn't necessarily fit in those.
Might be
style
too
of-
much.
right?
Might be
But-
too much, yeah.
But a
There
Hef,
might be some new versions of the same examples
Right.
that make it work.
but a Hefe or something like that, you could probably get away with it because
Yeah,
of the
you
citrus
probably
in it.
could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't see why not. I think it'd be worth trying. Honestly,
think
and
that
that's,
would-
I think it's so new that it's worth trying that.
Right.
Yeah, I think that hop would go great in half.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is probably the newest hop that we've talked about at any point in time. I mean, even like the others that so many people work with, we haven't done really any experimentals that are. I mean, Lemon Drop was one, and that has a lot of character to it. I think this
Yeah.
has more of its own range that works better in a lot of like a wider variety of beers
Yeah.
than say Lemon Drop would. You know.
Yeah, we got Tanner here on Facebook. He said that he thought something like that would go great with the Saison, and I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yeah.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
that'd be a
Yeah.
great
Saison.
canvas for it.
Yeah,
But that's our series of hops tonight.
yeah. We'll
So-
get into more of that later at some point. In closing, our future episodes will be sure to cover more ground for all you beginning and intermediate brewers. We'll have some brewery calls and recipe development, and we'll hopefully get in touch with the Grainfather folks. I know that's coming up soon.
Yeah, we need to get that
Yeah.
one call set for the salespeople.
Before then, for you live viewers,
Brewers.
Booers.
there will be a podcast next week.
There were
No,
not, or there
Thanksgiving.
Will not.
for us.
Yeah,
Will
well,
not.
Thanksgiving's next Thursday,
Yeah.
so you know.
And then Black
Okay, well-
Friday.
And
and
then
Hey,
Black Friday.
Now that's the vacation or the holiday that you enjoyed us actually coming over, right?
That's
not,
correct.
Not the one where you wanted to kick us out.
Yes.
when did the
Yeah,
Australians
'cause
come
that's
over?
a colonist holiday.
I get confused, you know.
Wait, is that a colonist holiday or is that
No,
a
that's a colonist holiday, and Nigel's not a colonist.
Do you know what the two important things are? One, I get the day off Thursday, and two, I come to help out here on Black Friday.
There you go.
And
makes you a
November
slightly
5th,
And
Guy
three,
Fawkes.
me.
and three,
Yeah,
I probably
but
get. I
if
probably
you're a
get
proper
Brew on
Englishman, it's Guy Fawkes Day, November 5th.
Saturday. It is. But
Remember the
That's-
5th of November.
yeah, gunpowder, treason, and plot. But that
Yeah.
was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. And I still got Nike'd.
Okay. Well, good for you.
Anyway,
Because it was November 5th. I
All right. Anyway,
Moving
Black
on.
Friday deals. Look out for those in your email. Again, please be sure to check out our Patreon account at patreon.com/comeinbrewitradio. Hey, just FYI, we do still have a few of those slick-ass work shirts if you haven't
Right.
seen them. So make sure to pony up the $10 and $20 donations and you'll get one.
What do you want to do about like future versions? Are we going to keep doing 10 and 20?
Yeah, for right now until we
Right,
run
cool.
out of shirts. But we might
so
do something
employees
differently.
can pony up $20 and get a slick ass shirt.
Yeah,
$20 a
$20
month.
a month. Yeah. There
A
you go.
month.
There you go.
Hey, that's 2 6-packs.
Yeah, that's right.
Pretty
A
much.
month.
Yeah, that's
As
right.
it is, he pays me to be a home brewer.
That's
Yeah.
half day.
Well,
half
you can
day
just
drinking
donate
for
your
you.
salary to us then.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
He needs new pipes on his bike. Anyway, we have
Need to be louder.
Overrated.
we have 2, 5, and 10 and $20 options because every little bit counts. We got to get these fools home in Uber. It costs me a lot of money. Plus, we want to reward you with you help us keeping the show going, get involved, and improve it. Thanks again for listening to Come and Brew It Radio. Be sure to share with your friends on social media. Give us some
Hey,
ratings
hey,
on
for-
iTunes and Stitcher, and send any ideas or comments to info@texasbrewinginc.com. Also, you can always check in on the brew days of the guys at our brew focused Facebook pages. At Brew with Stubby, at with Brew with Brando, at Brew with Mikey B, at Brew with Pete, at Brew with Chris, and at Brew with Greg.
And don't brew with me.
That guy's a dick. So is that bro, Greg.
But anyway, until next time, guys, thank you for coming and listening to the Come and Brew It Radio. And until next time.
Come and brew it.
Come on, brew it, guys.
Peace out, bro.